I'm gonna enroll. I'm not a teacher.
Yes.
But now I need to aspire with some opportunity to become a teacher. Is it nice to introduce KPI in for the teachers?
What's KPI?
KPI means Key Performance Index. Because in my organization where I work with France KLM. Your assessment is based on your KPI. Any teacher at every quarter that is not performing will aspire to perform. If they know that locally the administrators can create a kind of resentment or allowance for those that score a particular percentage, maybe the highest level is 5, and if your KPI you're scoring 3, you are XYZ in form of motivation. Back home in Nigeria, anything that does not bring in money, they are not involved. Money is the key. They will tell you I cannot go extra mile because governments are not even sure when government will pay. So I think administrators should also look at their environment on areas to partner with banks or with organizations within their locality. When they partner with them, with that contribution, then they can be using that sponsorship for KPI. It will motivate people. Back home, salary might not even show up in 3 months, and government is not bothered. And if I'm a teacher, I've been coming, I have my family to feed, and I have nothing to get at the end of the month because government is still trying to sort one thing or the other, then I'll be demoralized. But if they have something locally, as in administrators organize it, and they do it, I think it will, they'll get the best of the teachers.
I think I support what the last speaker is saying, because in that village school I told you I was, how I did it when I knew that the children they cannot speak, they cannot write, I tried to motivate teachers to make them to put extra time. Starting from JS1, I started paying the teachers extra money by organizing extra lessons for those students. We started from ABCD, making them learn how to read. The teachers that are doing this, I pay them extra money from my own salary. I'm telling you, from my own salary. At the end of the term, the VPs, my subordinates, and the teachers, I try to motivate them, do parties for them. I did it first time, second time, and the teachers, they were willing. Believe me, it worked very well. And I was happy I was able to achieve that aim with those children.
So let me ask you a question about that.
Yes.
Okay, because the incentive, now I believe that because merit pay is very important, right? When the teachers perform, they should get paid. At the same time, whenever you have an external incentive, at some point what you were giving suddenly doesn't become enough, right? Because if there's no baseline or if there's no dollar amount, specific a dollar amount tied to whatever they're performing, then what $100 extra on this month means no. Well, I want $300 extra the next time, and that's the danger with extrinsic motivators. So how do we empower the teachers so that they understand that it's not necessarily, and your situation is totally different. I don't even want to pretend like I understand. But how do we inspire people in general to understand that what's at stake is not necessarily just their home lifestyle, but also the future of a country, and that their integrity and the ethic that they put in, the work ethic that they put in right now, is forming the foundation for generations of people to survive and change. I don't know. I mean, that bears.
As I finish, I see the outcome. Because in different subject areas of teachers, by the end of the session, you find out that your children, that they're actually doing well.
Yes.
And they are being rated the way you have taught, you have taken them for the past 3 years when they write their junior work.
Yes.
You'll be able to rate that teacher, especially the mathematics teacher, very well that you are doing very well because he has what it takes.
Yes.
He has the instructional materials. He was able to improvise, and then at the end of the session, they saw the handwork that at least these children they were able to make it in different subject areas. While others are failing mathematics and English, you find that these children, even in that village where they came up and they passed it very well. So the teacher will say that this adds to his own promotion, because that will make him to be brought to limelight, and the struggle continues.
Oh, yeah, Alex, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm trying to say that everything doesn't depend on money. For example, in the school, my current school, I was transferred there in January. When I got there, everybody was saying, you don't pass, you don't used to pass in this school. The PTA, the general PTA, the ESCO, I even went to worship in the church that established the school, the Christ Apostolic Church. The first thing they told me there is that students in that school, they don't used to pass. I went back to school, had a meeting with the teachers. I told them, if you are lazy, or I discovered that some teachers are lazy. The parents were alleging them that teachers were lazy. And I said, if you are lazy, it's better you seek for transfer, that I cannot work with lazy teachers. So, from that we started. And do you know, the first WAEC we'll do, now that I'm there, we have one of the best results in Ondo Town. Wow. And that result now is a set of motivation for the teachers. They are working harder now because everybody is proud. A school that they have said they are not passing there, students are not passing, now having a very good result. Due to, I have not given money to anybody, but because of he saw my stand, that I can't work with lazy teachers. Those that were lazy before, they stood up. They stood up.
That's your standard,
Yes.
non-negotiable.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I like the last statement you made about money. Even with a very large school here that is HISD, when it comes to the giving money to teachers, it took more than 5 years to try to find out which way we can give extra money. So they have to look into many criteria. And even staff who are not even teaching a core subject, they find a way to tie attendance, performance, different things, so that the money is well distributed out. Because if you're trying to judge teacher by teacher, what happens if a teacher is very creative, putting all the effort, but like she mentioned, we have so many problems within the student who you are struggling with. But you see this teacher is the best teacher. You can go to his or her class teaching the best, but his or her class is not coming up with the good pass. Now when it comes to money, no, you don't deserve no money. This teacher here that just sit down, he has the best student, and you want to give him the money? No. So all the time that money doesn't work. But like you said, hey, I need people to work with me. I know this school is bad, I know this thing is good, but let's run with it. Now what we don't have in Nigeria is that a lot of time, or most of the time, we don't have partnership. Whereby when the partner take over the school, they will go to the government. Government, you give 50, we give 70. Yeah. Government, you give 30, we put the rest there. Before the policy is made, those partners will say, look, this is what we want, and this is what we want to do. The community will take over the school. Like our school now, if the community come up and say, no, we don't want, this is what we want, we sit down with them and say, hey, the community said this is what they want. How can we work with it? As long as we are not going against that. But in Nigeria, it's different. If it's a government school, the government say, this is the standard you have to follow. So it can be Shell, it can be anybody say, oh, we're sorry, our hands are tied. This is what the government wants. Yes, so exactly. That's another part of it. Other than that, but if the partner comes in and say, okay, this school, this is what we want to do for you, we'll try to do this with you, that might be able to motivate some other teacher. Because over here, sometimes they may not give us the money to go. We may want to have staff, something, or staff one day and say, okay, you know what, we'll be responsible for your lunch. We'll be responsible for your dinner. And the dinner that we never had before, and then will come to us and say, oh, this good. Or maybe they give us something that go to this place and spend with your family and spend something. So those are the type of incentive that is given to everybody without spending, and to give a lot of credit, when something is given to the school entirely just given to her, she come and say, hey, this is what I get. How many of you wants to go? How many of you need it? and she will share that with every one of us and say,
Another thing that works out is proper supervision. Sure. You must have something you have put down that you supervise. Making sure that you put things in place. Teachers that go to class, those that are not there, you, the teacher, in turn, you'll be able to find out the students that are there in class. But at times, when you have administrators that you as a teacher, you don't even know your students, the ones that are not in class. And then the teachers, you as an administrator, you don't know whether the teachers have gone to class. Proper supervision helps to bring good results. When you supervise, you have your itinerary and then you supervise. Things work out well. That's what I found.
Well, I want to volunteer. I'm just saying, I want to volunteer in the summertime just to come and see.
No, we work something now that we're working with something.
You know, just
we
work,
meet with them and
learn from you. Learn from you, just to observe, because I just feel like I'm at such a loss. You know, my only understanding is here, but there are so many things that I know that I can do. There are some partners here who don't know how to get in to help, and they want to give money, or they want to send people, they want to exchange students, and they just don't really know how to do that, and or the government is kind of dragging its feet in responding. So there are definitely things that we can do to support you. And
We have the PTAs and the SBNC, that is the school-based management committee of the school. And sometimes they come in, they provide advisory to the school, and we interact with them, they partner with us. Sometimes they own a project in the school, especially in areas of core subjects where we have lack of manpower. They come in to paying salaries of those teachers to really coach the students, especially in core subjects, so that because if a child gets 7 credits without English and mathematics, that child cannot move or proceed to higher education. So these are some of the things we put in place to really improve the results of our students and the standard. But we still have a lot of challenges because the population, I don't know, what is the population of your schools here? Maximum population?
we have schools that are 3,700, so 3,700, sometimes 4,000.
3,000.
High school, yes.
One school?
Yeah.
No, high school.
Oh, in a class?
Yes.
In one class?
Well,
Public.
I've taught in a class of 42 before, 45. You know, it just depends.
But big class,
Yeah,
Yes.
not jockey class.
in high school.
You know, it's
But in our school, in high school. But in our,
Senior,
high
secondary.
school is SS.
yes. But in our school, we
We have a small
have maximum maybe 20.
20, 25.
And the fewest number of students in any one class might be 11. So we try to keep it fairly small, but it's important because a lot of these students, they've been conditioned, they've been passed on. You know, the teachers don't teach at the lower levels, and then they expect us to solve all of the, it's the same, that's the same.
It's the same. Garbage in, garbage out.
No, Dr. Benson, I think one of the things we found out is that in the public school, like happens in Nigeria, is that even with the largest number of students in the class, we can be like, I've had like, we are teach science and we have to do lab, I've had up to 40 students. Maybe after 1 week or so, it can be reduced to 35, but you still have to manage those numbers given to you. But when it gets to charter or private school, the number kind of become reduced. Now the difference between here and Nigeria is that in Nigeria, when the teachers come in, the rest of the students, everybody be quiet. Okay? Even with a small number of students, sometimes you have to make sure you can be able to manage very well. And like you said that sometimes you can be very creative with the students because your class is loud or because everybody is standing. As long as they are doing something, it's okay. Those things is what is missing in a very good area where I say I'm teaching. Like I can remember one school they have When Lee High School used to be before, it's a very big building. We used to have 4,000 students. When the Bay,
For the school?
yes, we have grade
many
9,
languages?
10, 11, 12.
How many languages were spoken at Lee?
Oh, 9. That's a lot of.
Like
Oh, at
80
first,
something?
no, at that time, we have almost about, it's different languages in that school. There are people from all over, Russia, Europe, different places in Africa that are in that school. So for that reason, they broke the school into two. One go to another school they built, and they left this one here. And when they left this one here, the number of students that was left was still almost close to 3,000. So you have, I mean, you can go to some school when they graduate, you will see almost about 3,000 students graduating. That's
Okay,
high
so
school.
we are talking about, you now have 3,000 students in a school.
In a school. Class
What
ratio.
class? What?
Oh, that's what I'm
Class
saying.
ratio.
The class ratio is between 35 and 40.
And ours is
But we are
120.
talking about
70.
1,700.
No.
In Nigeria, 70.
No, no.
Yes.
No, we're not talking about in one room.
Yeah, in one room. Yes.
It's a room.
Okay,
It's
listen.
also very difficult for the
Document.
teacher to manage.
Okay.
That's a college.
No. You can. No. You see, they mentioned to you before that even with that 70 students, if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me. With that number of students, most of the time when the teachers come in, right, the student will be quiet, right? They will listen. All of them may not be able to get what you are teaching, right? But they will listen to you. You do whatever you want to do, and you go.
Yeah.
There's no way you can do that here.
So
No way.
down to you. How do you do
Even
that?
with
That's
all,
amazing.
even with 35,
They won't listen.
even with
They listen, but sometimes in the course of the delivery of the lesson, you find out that the class might be very rowdy, noisy, that the teacher might not be able to control. There are situations like that,
Yes, that's a lot of
depending on the type of teacher in the class. You know,
The teacher is
time
also
management, classroom
Management.
control. These are the skills
Individual
teachers
teachers.
When you
use.
said
Yes.
1,700, see, this is.
No, 1,700 is
blowing
not,
my
it's not in the
mind.
room. They're talking
Not
about
in the
70.
700.
70.
I'm sorry, I thought you were saying 1,700.
1,700
That was
in the
my.
class.
No. Sometimes they are up to 100 in a class,
100
in a room.
But she was
100.
talking about 1,700.
No.
Yeah, I was like, how is it?
70.
100.
Okay, all right. Well, that's a moderate-sized class environment, but when you're talking about younger students and expecting them to perform, they don't have the temerity to sit there and focus. They can sit, but they may not be able, they're drifting in and out. Oh my goodness, okay, that's a whole other matter.
I think what you're dealing with is not like, based on our ideology in the school year, is that you must try to touch all your students every time they come to your class. You must try to touch them, no matter how. If they're in group of 2, if they're in group of 3, you have to have impact on them. All of them may not get it, but most of them will get it. So, and if that is not in existence of 150, 40 students, which means you can teach a class for a whole week, whereby we meet 3 times a week, or maybe in some cases, if it's a 1 hour class, you meet every day. Throughout the week, you may not reach a student.
Yes.
No, I mean, that's one of the reasons he came up with the idea that, look at, let's have this number of students whereby I have to touch this one.
Yes,
If I
on the
finish
middle
with this one, I
size.
go to the one on the medium side. But that has to do with the government.
So that's the main problem we have now. I think.
So you need
More
more
population
help,
in
you
schools.
need more facilities, you need more, I mean, that's just a resource.
Yeah.
And, that is a tremendous source of stress, I'm sure. Wow. Okay, so what about books and, okay.
I think the subject that you brought up is very important, and empowering the leadership, which can be transferred to the teachers, and from the teachers to the students. If we can achieve that, the rest of the other resources coming will be played as it's presented. So where do we get the resource? It doesn't matter where we get it, we will get it. If we have to go to the moon, if you have to go somewhere, but that empowering is very important. transferring from the administrator to the principal, from the principal to the student, and the student will go at any level with the help of the teachers to achieve whatever needs to be achieved. And I think that can be done, and whichever role that you or the rest of us can play, we have to try to get impact on that and make sure that that is done.
Well, it is well past my time, but I want to thank you so much for sharing with me today. I've really enjoyed this. I was nervous, and you all put me at ease. I appreciate that. I look forward to conversing over the course of the weekend.
Definitely.
Yes. But I wanted to be sure that you had something from our school. We were talking about improving student behavior, so there are 50 ways to do that, and there's a study guide for teachers. So you have a book to read, and then you have a worksheet that you can do during your professional development, a set of worksheets. And then there's a study guide, 7 simple secrets toward effective teaching, what the best teachers know and do. So you might want to share that with your staff. This is an awesome book. Just considerations, and I'm sure that you're doing some things around that anyway.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You're welcome.
Do we have this